Hello everyone, I am Bo and this is Critical Masterpiece. Today we will be talking about how to create a good character for players and DMs alike. This is not about making a good character in relation to alignment, but a good character in relation to a D&D game. When someone wants to talk about what a well-made character is, you have to ask yourself, what is the criteria you are basing this on? And with that, what is the motivation of this character? As I mentioned a moment ago, there are two groups that make said characters, the players and the dungeon masters. Both have their reasons why they build these characters, but in the end, both groups want the same end result. They want their character to be interesting. Okay, interesting. We're going to have to unpack this because this idea is subjective. First, we have to understand where this comes from. Most say it is part of their backstory. So why do we put so much effort into a backstory in the first place? Think of it this way. Your backstory is the cleared land that gives you the ability to build your character's current story, otherwise known as your foundation. What some do not realize is that the heart of your character is the current story, not your backstory. If this were the case, then your backstory would be more important than the current adventure, and then we ask, why even go on the adventure? What I'm trying to get at is, what makes an interesting character is the result of the current story arc. Remember, it is not all about using a sword or a spell to take down an enemy. We are here to talk about the process that leads up to that point. That is what this video is all about. But before moving on, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. It helps creators like myself. All right. Most people create characters from two areas, what they have seen and inspiration that they can draw from. Now, where does this inspiration come from? Most of the time, it is from a TV show or a movie, though it can come from books or a dream that you had, but let's keep it simple and stick with the first two. For clarification purposes, from here on out, I will replace the word good with interesting in relation to building a character. Continuing on, let us look at what a good example of an interesting character is and what this might look like. Again, being subjective topic, you may disagree with me on what an interesting character is. That being said, a good example of an interesting character is Ironman. This character is self-absorbed, pretentious, and arrogant, but that is not why we like him. We like him because eventually he learns. This is the key to the entire puzzle. We have a term for it. It is called character development. Though he is stubborn, he needs his team to bail him out when things get bad. Throughout the entire course of his life on screen, he is in constant state of moving forward and being a better person, or as we call it, a better character. Yes, he can be witty, he can still be arrogant, and he can still believe that no one on the team has ideas as good as himself. But this is why we enjoy Tony Stark. He is still willing to listen to everyone, and he sees the benefit of their contribution. In Endgame, he is on the planet Titan, and they are devising a plan to defeat Thanos. Even when he remarks after the speech of Star-Lord, he is still listening, he is still thinking, and he is still growing as a character. This is the key to a character that is likable. Even with a character that is as deeply flawed as Tony Stark, we are willing to continue watching his journey because he is in a constant state of change as it relates to character development. This gets at the heart of what an interesting character is. If you do not have any flaws or issues to overcome, no one is willing to buy off that you are worth vesting any emotional interest in. Some might think of this or these flaws as a sign of weakness, but if you use these flaws to facilitate character growth, the audience, the DM, and the players will be willing to go through the story with you, just like we do with Ironman. No matter what kind of character you want to build, you hope that the audience, the DM, and the players see this character as interesting and creative. So going back to what I asked in the beginning is, what is it that makes this character that you want to play interesting? This part of the character creation process begins on page 127 of the Player's Handbook. Remember, these are guidelines to base your ideals, flaws, and bonds off of, not to be used as direct quotes as the book gives. How you interpret this is all based off of your backstory. They can, and in my opinion, should change over time and evolve as the campaign unfolds. But we will get back to that in a little bit. A lot of people look at this section of the character building process as tedious, pointless, and inconsequential. In truth, this is far from that. Remember, this game is not about you. It is about the group. Yes, you are part of the group, but if you make a character that doesn't fit into your group, you defeat the purpose of playing D&D. Even the DM can try and make a character interesting, but even the DM is at risk of failing here. Even if the DM's NPC is really cool, if this character has a trait that would never allow them to interact with the characters in the first place, why create it? The short answer to this is you shouldn't. This idea holds true with the players as well. Wanting to build a character that is extremely complex and edgy may be fun, but that only works if this is a single player game. But D&D is not typically a single player game. This is a game based around teamwork and collaborative storytelling. Let me give you an example that you might be able to relate to. Oh, I am edgy and brash. The whole world's gonna feel my angst. Yes, this can be an interesting character, but the next question that you have to ask yourself is, what does the attitude do to the dynamic of the group? Second, how do you go about the development of this character? A character that doesn't grow isn't worth watching. A character that learns about their issues and how to become a better person by resolving some of their issues is a character worth watching. Remember, you don't have to resolve all of your issues to be interesting. All right, let's get back to my example, Ironman. If he didn't learn to work with others, he would be like any other person in the real world. The Avengers would kick him to the curb, and they would try to resolve the problem without him. We can all relate. We have had either worked with someone or been at the table with someone like that. Yeah, fun in the beginning, yet after they show the world time and time again that they will not change, they are left to their own devices, and your group moves on to better things. This is how D&D is played, and this is how you should see the importance of character development. I will have another video that addresses dealing with a difficult character. Getting back to the beginning of the video, this all revolves around a singular concept, motivation. Again, having an edgy character is fine. It is the start of your story, but it is not the driving force of your character. The driving force of your character is the motivation to adventure in the first place. Here is a hint. Loot is the reward, not the goal. That goal is for the villain. I mean, unless you're wanting to create a villain. If that is all that you want, be warned. This runs the risk of being a one-dimensional character. We all know the problem with that. What drives the character to become a better person is the realization and the awareness of the ideals, flaws, and bonds that the character constantly is faced with. You as a player will want to continuously show the party that your character is slowly realizing that these problems won't serve them when it comes to accomplishing their goal. As you work through a character's issues, you can slowly change their flaws as they work through them. That is why you're doing this in the first place. You can even say this at the table. As they resolve their flaws, their ideas change. As their ideas change, their bonds become stronger. You announce to the group that you have resolved these issues and in turn created new issues that arise because you resolved the current problem. That is how character development works. Tony Stark at first builds his suits for self-preservation. As he grows, he slowly begins to build devices that will save the rest of humanity, knowing full well that these devices were not meant to protect him. That is how one flaw morphs into another and keeps true to the heart of the character. This is a true sign that the writers knew what character development actually means. Though that kind of end result, the ultimate sacrifice he eventually made, is not always what needs to happen in every story. So, in the end, you want to show the group that what you want to create is a character that has a reason for adventuring. They may have some deep-seated issues and they may make the wrong decisions from time to time, but they have the party's best interest in mind. Not every action needs to be the right one. It should fit with the character and fit within the moment. When building your character, you should always ask, why is this individual wanting to adventure? And lastly, how will this character benefit the party? Remember, the answer in one session will not always be the same in your next session. Well, I think this video has gone on long enough. So, until next time, have fun adventuring.